welcome to today's episode. Hi, I'm Chef Frank, and in today's episode, my very first episode, we'll talk about what Eat Like a Vegan Chef uh, is all about. So, every week we dive into the mindset of meals, moments that help you live your healthiest life one bite at a time. Whether you just started or already living plant based, you are in the right place. So, before I even get started, um, anyone who's seeing this podcast, this is a live podcast. So, I'm gonna turn on my chat so I can see who is there. Anyone who is listening from YouTube, if you don't mind um, saying hello and where you're from, so I can see who is listening. Thank you again. And let's move on. And towards the end, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. So you can also post them in the chat. Okay, let's move on. Welcome to the very first episode of From Scratch. This is more than a podcast. It's it's a heartfelt journey back to the kitchen, to real food, maybe even back to yourself. So, as a vegan chef, a father, a bit of a kitchen scientist, and someone who is just deeply passionate about the power of plants, I have been around in a culinary blog from fine dining to running a whole food plant based and gluten free coaching program for people over 40. But no matter how many fancy knives I've used or flowers I've tested, the real joy always comes from helping someone reclaim their health and happiness through simple, sustainable food. So, why from scratch? Because I believe we all deserve a fresh start. Maybe you struggled with your weight, with information, or with just knowing or not knowing what to eat. Maybe you're like many of my clients, overwhelmed, standing in the grocery store thinking, wait, what's the difference between oat flour and sorghum again? Believe me, I've been there. And trust me, I've been there. We are going to figure this out together, one real, whole, humble ingredient at a time. So, what can you expect every Sunday morning? Each episode will alternate between two themes. One week, we'll dive into the whole food plant based lifestyle, especially for folks over 40 who want to ditch the dieting, beat fatigue, and get their sparkle back with food that loves them back. The next week, we'll go all in gluten free lifestyle, including baking tips, flour blends, and how to create bread and pastries that don't taste like cardboard. Believe me, I had my fair share of gluten free disasters. So, whether you're just starting out or have already been plant based, I want you to leave every episode feeling inspired, informed, and maybe a little hungry. Before we dive into the real podcast tonight, let me tell you something I'll see all the time. Before we get into the heart of this episode, I need to share something that's been on my heart for years. Because as a chef, a coach, and just a fellow human trying to do good in this world, I have seen the pattern that breaks my heart over and over again. I can't tell you how many people have come to me desperate. I'm talking about folks that are on medications they don't want to be on, who are dealing with chronic pain, inflammation, fatigue, feeling like they're stuck in someone else's body. They have tried everything, every diet, every cleanse, every book. And when they hear about this way of eating, whole food, plant based, no oil, no gluten, their eyes light up. They're not. They know it makes sense. And then they walk away. What pains me is why they don't do it. whether it's with me or with someone else who's offering real help. And the truth is, we are afraid of change, afraid of giving up foods that comfort us, afraid that we will fail again, afraid that we won't know what to cook, that our families won't be on board, or that we'll be miserable eating lentils and kale for the rest of our lives. But there's the part no one wants to say out loud. Most of us would rather stay sick than uncomfortable. And that's the truth. And believe me, I get it. I really do. Change is hard, especially when it's tied to something as emotional and personal as food. Believe me, I had my own foods adventure, so to speak. But it's also medicine or poison. And the choice is ours every single day. I've had people who were told by the doctors, just live with it. High blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, arthritis. And they come to me looking for another way. And when I lay out the path, a simple, doable path with real support, they freeze. Because let's be honest, there is a strange safety in staying the same. Even if we are miserable, at least we know our misery. But I want you to hear this from me, not as a chef, but as someone who has walked through change myself. Your comfort zone is not your friend if it's keeping you from living. It might feel safe, but it's not freedom and it's not health. You don't have to make the leap overnight. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to take the first step. And I hope this podcast can be that step for you, or at least nudge, or at least a nudge that gets you thinking a little differently. So let's get into the uh, the best part. Why plants are more enough, or more? Why plants are more than enough? Now let's tackle the elephant-sized tofu block in the room. But what do you do? Excuse me. But where do you get your protein from? How many times have I heard that one? I've been asked that in kitchens, in family dinners, and even once at a wedding, right between the salad course and the speeches. So let's set the record straight. When we say whole food plant based, we are talking about foods in their most natural form: fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. No oil, no processed junk, no animal products, just food. The kind your great parents would recognize, if not love them, even more today. And guess what? These humble plants are absolutely packed with protein, fiber, antioxidants, and phytonutrients that animal products simply don't have. Let's talk about numbers. Lentils, 18 grams of protein. Tempeh, 21 grams per serving. Even broccoli has protein, 5 grams per cup. And unlike animal proteins, plant proteins come with a beautiful bonus. Fiber is the MVP when it comes to digestion, blood sugar, balance, and even heart health. Yet 95% of Americans don't get enough of it. Plants don't just give you protein, they give you everything. They give you everything else you need without the saturated fat, cholesterol, or animal hormones. And here's the kicker: even elite athletes thrive on a whole food plant based diet. If it's enough for them, it's more than enough for us regular mortals trying to reduce inflammation, boost energy, and age gracefully without running to the pharmacy every week. Nutrients you can trust. Now, let's touch on the big three nutrients people worry about when it comes to plant based. Protein, we just covered, iron, calcium. Plant based iron is non here, yes, but pair it with vitamin C, like adding lemon to your lentils or strawberries to your spinach salad, and absorption goes up significantly. As for calcium, leafy greens like kale, bok choy, collard greens are calcium superstars. And you get it without the dairy inflammation many of us over 40 just can't tolerate anymore. Next time, we're diving into the gluten free world. I'll be talking about what makes gluten free flour so different, why baking gluten free bread and whole is a whole new science, and how to make it work without frustration or cardboard loaves, so to speak. Thank you for letting me in your ears today. I don't take that for granted. And if there's one thing I hope you take away from this episode, you're not lacking, you are not behind, and you absolutely can feel better starting from scratch with real food and someone cheering you on from a little kitchen in New York. Until next time, keep it whole, keep it plant based, and hey, maybe sneak in a lentil loaf. See you next time. Thank you for joining me today.